Welcome to part 2 of my video, the more comprehensive part of this video. If you haven't watched the first part of this video, definitely go back and watch that. In 7 months, I'm in my 3rd trimester and it's going great. So what I wanted to do is kind of walk you guys through my whole pregnancy journey. Starting off at the very beginning, me and my boyfriend have been together for 2 years in August. And around July of 2018, we decided we were going to start trying for a baby. Whenever me and my boyfriend met, it was kind of like an instant thing. We have a really healthy, stable relationship. We love each other a lot. And we've always kind of known that this is like a forever thing. And even if something crazy would have happened, like we broke up for some inexplainable reason, we would still have that love and respect for each other that if we brought a baby into this world, it wouldn't be hard to co-parent with each other. A baby is a big deal, so you have to talk about these things even if they're uncomfortable. But we both kind of decided we're gonna stop preventing us not getting pregnant, and if we got pregnant, we got pregnant. If we didn't, we'd go get checked for why we weren't getting pregnant. But we didn't think that it would take us such a short amount of time to get pregnant, because a lot of people don't experience it like that. July came and went, nothing happened. June came and went, nothing happened. August, September, and then October hit. For July through September, I was obsessing over this. And he was more like nonchalant, like, you know, don't get your hopes up this month. Don't look into everything that's going on with you, because whenever you see that negative test, you're going to be upset. And he was 100% right. When you actually look into what it takes to hit that perfect spot of your ovulation, and it's like the certain day of your ovulation, and he has to have this correct sperm count, and it has to be like your body temperature has to be this, and like there's so much that goes into it. So I was like, there's no way that if we're just, you know, doing it willy-nilly that it's gonna happen. So around like September going into October, my boyfriend really started to notice like how depressed it was making me. You know, even those 3 months where I wasn't getting pregnant, I was like, there's something wrong with me. And I got all my tests done. I was taking my prenatals. I was like calculating things and watching my cycle so closely. Like a day before my period came, I would be like praying and praying. And it was also really hard because I would scroll down Facebook and a new girl would be pregnant. I really started to lose hope, and my boyfriend could see that, and he was like, you know what? Let's put this whole baby making business on hold. If it happens for us, it happens for us. If it doesn't, it doesn't. For me, being a mom is like such a big deal. I don't want to cry because I'm pregnant and I cry about everything. So around the time my period was going to start again, and I still kept up with that part of it, because, you know, even if you're not trying to get pregnant, it's nice to know, like, okay, well, I should start preparing for this, you know, gush of blood coming out of me. Also, whenever you're trying to conceive, there is like a thing that you check your cervix and like what position it's at, and like if it's soft or it's hard or any of that kind of thing. I had never actually like done it before. I knew my period was coming soon, and I kind of felt like it was just gonna be my period, but you know, I was curious and I was like, I'm gonna check. So I checked my cervix. I had like this brown discharge on my finger. I only had this once before in July when we first started trying, and I spotted for a few days. I had really light pink spotting and kind of like a brown, like dingy old blood spotting. It was started for like 2 days, and then it just got heavier blood. So when I saw this brown discharge, I was like, my period's gonna come. So then I went out to lunch with my mom, and I went to the bathroom, and when I wiped, there was that light pink discharge I was talking about that I saw in July. So then the day of my period comes and goes, nothing happens. And then I wake up the second morning of when my period's supposed to be here. It's not here. And I'm texting my boyfriend at work, and I'm like, what do I do? And he was like, just go get tests. We'll figure it out. I went to the Dollar General. I got 2 of like the cheapest tests I could find. I remember like driving to my house, and I was like, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant. And I remember I got a little nauseous, and I was like, that doesn't mean you're pregnant, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant. I've taken this kind of test millions of times, and I saw it like being weird, and I was like, I guess like I didn't put enough pee in it, I don't know. Because I was looking at it and I was like, wait, is that a second line? And I texted that picture to my boyfriend. I was like, babe, there's a second line. I swear to God, there's a second line. So as I'm like taking another one, I FaceTime him because he was on his lunch break, and I was like, this like line just went from really, really light to really, really dark. And I showed it to him. He was like, we'll take the other one. So I had my cup of tea and I take the other one, pops up immediately. And I was like, babe, I'm pregnant. And like we freak out and we have like, oh my gosh moment. So then around 6 weeks is when I started getting sick. But I wasn't throwing up yet, so I could still eat. I just like didn't really want to. And then one day I was at home and I was eating a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A, and I just felt it like this wave like come over me. And I went to the bathroom and threw up the sandwich, and it's literally making me sick to think about. That was like kind of like the start of a chain of events. Around like 9 weeks is when the puking got really, really bad. I would wake up, puke, not eat anything, eat as little as I could just to keep me from dying, and I would still puke it all up. And I remember this one specific night, I was eating corn dogs, and every time I took a bite, I'd throw it back up. But I like was so hungry, I was like, I don't care. So I kept eating, throwing it back up. And then we went to bed, and I just like continued to throw up and throw up and throw up until like I was dry heaving. Like my heart was hurting because I was like trying so hard to throw up and I couldn't because there was nothing inside of me. Around like 6 that morning, we were like, we need to go to the hospital because like you can't even keep water down, you can't keep anything down. So I stayed at the hospital for like a few hours. They put me on 2 IV bags. I'm sleeping and like groggy the whole time, and then we finally left, and I was able to eat like a sausage biscuit from McDonald's. And I think I was around 11 weeks, 11, almost 12 weeks. And we went to the hospital again for the same reason. I can't stop throwing up. I woke up and literally a drop of water would hit my mouth and I would just be throwing up. I puked about 6 times before we even went to the hospital. So we went to the hospital. We're in the waiting room for forever. I threw up like 3 more times, and then we finally get put back, and they just give me Zofran, even though I haven't drank water. Like I need an IV or something. My doctor told us after the first visit to the hospital if I go again to let her know. So my mom called the OB's office, and we told the hospital who my doctor was and what she wanted. No one contacted her. And so they told me that I had, I'm gonna put the word right here because I don't know how to pronounce it or spell it. Then I had my 12-week appointment, and my mom also brought me to this appointment because I thought we were gonna have an ultrasound. Newsflash, you don't have ultrasounds like at all during your pregnancy. Text the heartbeat, and like she's like asking me how my pregnancy is going because she knows I've been really sick. And I told her, I was like, well, we went to the hospital again. You went to the hospital again? And no one told me. She's looked at my pee and she's like, you're dehydrated, you're going to the hospital. I'm admitting you. Like, here's your papers, go to the hospital, you're gonna stay the night there. This is like my lunch break from work, but okay. I go to the hospital, get put on Phenergan again. I was literally like having spasms and like going like this in my bed and crying and just trying to get myself to throw up and just like reeling, like I don't know what was going on. Literally freaking out, like screaming, asking them to take me off of this medicine. I hated Phenergan. I do not like Phenergan. I've taken some hardcore drugs in my life, you know, in my partying days. Nothing compared to this. This was like the worst trip. I felt like I was on meth and heroin and all this stuff, which I've never done those things, but this is what I'm imagining they feel like to people. So I'm like freaking out, and then they take me off of it and they put Zofran in the IV instead, and I slept for 16 hours straight. And my boyfriend came, and bless his heart, he was there for like hours, and I literally didn't even know he was there. I was in the hospital for 2 more days because I couldn't stop throwing up. So that was when I was 12 weeks, and I think I stopped throwing up like all the time to where it was like a problem at 14 weeks. I ended up not continuing working because I just couldn't, like, this pregnancy has been so hard on my body and like my mental state that I just like, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And I know a lot of women work literally up until the day they give birth. Those women are way stronger than I'll ever be. I had enough. I had already had enough by like 20 weeks. My second trimester hit and I started getting energy back again. I started cleaning again because our house used to be so gross in the beginning. I would have to be either outside of our house or in our bedroom or bathroom. Couldn't be in our living room, couldn't be in our dining room, couldn't be in our kitchen. Like the smells and just, we were in a really tiny apartment. I just couldn't. I felt like claustrophobic. I would literally like cry about having to go back home from like a friend's house or something. My boyfriend has a full-time job, so he would come home, he'd be tired, he didn't want to clean, and I was the one that like deep cleaned everything, and it was just like, it was too much. Like I would throw up like walking through my front door just because of the smell. And no one else could smell it but me. Some time went on, and around like 26 weeks was when he started growing more, and I was like, I'm done again. I'm done being pregnant, and I don't know how people can continue having kids and having kids. Around that 26-week mark, I started getting a pain in my right side, like under my ribs, and it was always like when I wore bras or something, and I was like, whatever, just ignore it. Until one day me and Josh were eating, and I was like, okay, your appendix is on your right side, but where? So we look it up, and the pain wasn't where my appendix was, thankfully. But then we found out it's where my gallbladder is, and I could not wear bras. I still can't wear bras. It was just really, really painful, and certain foods and certain drinks would trigger it. So I'm thinking it's gallbladder, so I cut out all meat, and that's why I cut out all meat. And I cut out like sodas, I cut out anything, like I would eat it or drink it. If it made it hurt, I'd never eat it again. So I go, I get an ultrasound, they take my blood, and they're like, we'll call you if it's anything. If it's not, come in for your next scheduled appointment. Never got a call. I went in for my glucose test. I love my doctor. My doctor is amazing. This is one of the things that I was like, she comes in and she texts me, and she's sitting and talking, and she's like, well, you're not showing any signs, blah, 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 blah. Also, by the way, like, you have a kidney stone, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I have a kidney stone? Like, she said it so nonchalantly that my boyfriend was like, I thought she told you this and you just didn't remember to tell me. She's like, oh, it's just small and like non-obstructive. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. It's just sitting there. So like, there's nothing we can really do about it. So now I'm currently 7 months, and I am in the thick of my anxiety. And at first I was like, it's probably because I'm getting closer to like when I actually have to like go into labor and give birth, and like I've been saying it's not scary until like you're getting closer to it and you're like, there's no other way to get this baby out of me at this point, you know? And I just feel claustrophobic almost. And it's a lot for anyone to go through, and then whenever you don't have the best mental state to begin with, because I've struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. I just started therapy. So I'm like doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, so don't worry about me. It's just hard for your mentality to go from me to never me again. I'm not saying like getting pregnant and being a mom means you never think about yourself ever again, because that's very unhealthy. It's a really hard mental transition and physical transition. So now that I have you guys all up to date, I am going to be posting a actually like in-depth 7-month pregnancy update with like a belly shot and everything, because I felt like this is more like pregnancy journey part 1 and 2 video. I didn't want to make it like that and then something else. And I'm sorry for rambling and this not being interesting to some of you, but to those of you who are thinking about getting pregnant or are pregnant and feeling the same way I am, go ahead and comment down below, or you can message me on any of my social media. They'll be linked in the bio. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you got some insight out of this, and I hope I didn't scare anyone off, because honestly I'd go through it all again for my baby. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to see that 7-month pregnancy update, go ahead and click the little bell to turn on my notifications so you get notified when I post a video. Thank you guys so much for being supportive. I went up like 15 subscribers in like a week, and that's crazy to me. Thank you guys. I love you.